The night fell like a black cloak over the lonely cabin, enveloped in a sepulchral silence, broken only by the crackling of the fire and the distant howl of a wolf sitting in front of the fire, his face marked by the lines of time and loneliness. I, Jose, felt like a castaway in a sea of uncertainty. My life, once full of joy and love, had turned into a macabre nightmare after the tragic death of my beloved Maria. Since then, the cabin has become my refuge, a sanctuary against the painful memories and loneliness that consumed me. But in the last few weeks, something sinister has been disturbing my peace. An invisible presence accompanied me like a shadow that crept through the cracks of the night. I felt its eyes watching me, full of a voracious hunger that chilled my soul. Night after night, I tortured myself with macabre thoughts, imagining the creature that stalked me in the darkness, a monster from my worst nightmares, with sharp claws and bloody teeth. With every strange sound, with every branch that broke in the forest, my heart raced in panic. One night, the creature finally revealed itself amidst the storm that lashed seven. A guttural howl unlike anything I had ever heard. Shivering with fear, I ran to the window, and in the light of the lightning, I saw a monstrous figure approaching. A werewolf with black fur and eyes as red as embers watched me with a ferocity that made my blood run cold in terror. I closed the doors and windows of the cabin, locking myself inside like a cornered animal. I spent the whole night on watch, waiting for the attack that I knew was inevitable. At dawn, exhausted and with my nerves on edge, I opened the door of the cabin ready to face my destiny, but what I found was not the monster I had feared so much. Instead, I saw the fragile and familiar figure of Maria, wrapped in a tattered white dress. Her eyes, before full of love, now overflowed with deep sadness. In her hands, she held a blood-stained axe. In a moment of horror and anguish, I understood the terrible truth, but Maria was the creature that tormented me. The woman I loved so much had become a monster trapped in a cycle of fury and violence. Tears welled up in my eyes as I watched, unable to articulate a word, with a gesture of despair. Maria approached me, the axe raised. I closed my eyes, waiting for the final blow. But instead of pain, I only felt a tight, warm hug. Maria hugged me tightly. Crying softly, at that moment, I realized that the creature that tormented me was not a monster from the darkness, but rather the tortured soul of my beloved, a soul trapped in a cursed body, unable to control its own impulses. With a broken heart, but overcome by deep compassion, I hugged Maria back. Together, we cried over the loss of our happiness. Letting go of the cruel fate that had separated us, at that moment, faced with pain and tragedy, I felt an even stronger love for Maria, transcending the limits of life and death. From that day on, I took care of Maria with all my love and dedication. I helped her control her monstrous impulses, teaching her to channel her fury into other activities. Over time, she became calmer and more controlled, although the sadness and regret never completely left her. Together, we lived in the lonely cabin, surrounded by nature and the silence, a simple life marked by pain and loss, but also by love and hope. The story of Maria and me has become a macabre legend in the region, told in whispers around campfires, a horror story that serves as a reminder of the power of love and compassion. Even in the darkest situations, on a moonless night, Maria's hunger became uncontrollable. Her normally kind brown eyes glowed an intense red, and her bones began to twist and crack. I watched helplessly as the transformation took place. The woman I loved disappeared before me, giving way to a grotesque creature thirsty for blood. This time, however, Maria's fury did not turn against me. She looked at the door of the cabin, as if drawn by a force. Before I could react, she ran off into the forest, the guttural howl cutting through the silence of the night. Filled with fear and anguish, I followed her with stumbling steps. The dark forest seemed to swallow the dim light of my lamp, creating distorted shadows that played with my mind. Maria's howl echoed through the trees, guiding an unknown path. Suddenly, I arrived at a clearing in the center. Under the pale light of the moon, there was a group of hunters gathered around a campfire. Their faces, illuminated by the fire, showed expressions of fear and excitement, and in the middle of them, fighting with a supernatural ferocity, was Maria. My heart tightened. I knew what was about to happen. With a desperate scream, I ran towards Maria. hoping to stop her, but it was too late. A precise shot hit Maria squarely, and she fell to the ground with a grunt. The terrified hunters pointed their weapons at me, but before they could react, I felt a change inside me. An insatiable primal hunger took over my being. The pain of Maria's loss turned into fury, and my senses sharpened. I looked at the hunters with eyes that I was sure shone with the same red hunger as Maria. An animalistic growl escaped my throat, and a macabre smile was drawn on my face. The darkness of the forest welcomed me, and I threw myself into the hunt, leaving behind the echo of my own howls mixing with the terrified screams of the men. That night, the boundary between the victim and the monster dissolved. The curse that consumed Maria had transferred itself to me, condemning me to wander the forest as the creature I feared so much, and so the horror story repeated itself in a macabre cycle of love, loss, and hunger. Without end, years have passed since that night. The legend of the cursed werewolf grew, terrorizing the nearby villages, but for me the horror transcended the fear it caused in others. Sometimes in rare moments of lucidity, I can glimpse fragments of my humanity, memories of a simple life next to Maria, the warmth of our love. However, these flashes are always eclipsed by the insatiable hunger that controls me. Wandering through the dark forest, I feel the curse like a chain imprisoning me. The weight of guilt oppresses me. The awareness of what I have become torments me. I am a monster, yes, but I am also a victim, cursed to live an eternal nightmare. On nights of full moon, I look at the starry sky and wonder if there is any redemption possible. If is there a place where Mary's love and pain can finally find peace? The answer, as the forest that surrounds me remains shrouded in sepulchral silence. Maybe one day the curse will be broken, or maybe I will carry it for all eternity. But of one thing I am certain, and my story serves as a warning, a reminder of the price one pays for toying with forces beyond our understanding, and of the tragic love that can turn to horror.